Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna go over the materials. So I'm gonna start off with a canvas stretcher. Canvas stretcher bars. So when you go to the art store, tell them you're looking for canvas stretcher bars. Now they come in pairs. Well, actually, but some of them come in pairs, and some of them are just like open stock, so you can buy and make any kind of frame that you want. So you can, but you need two of each length. So like this canvas stretcher bar is made up out of two 20s and two 16s to create a 16 by 20 canvas. So make sure you get your pairs and make sure you have them evened up. Next thing you're going to need is some canvas. Now, in this particular instance, I found a really good way to, I've been doing this for a few years, so it works pretty good for me. I just buy a regular house painting canvas at Home Depot. So you can buy like a 6 foot by 9 foot square of that stuff and make a lot of your own canvases for pretty cheap. I think they're like $11 or $9 or something like that for a great big piece. If you go price canvas at the canvas store, you'll find out it's a lot more expensive than that. Now, it does require a little bit more work in preparation, but it's not that big a deal. The next thing you're going to need is a staple gun or a nail, a tacks, and a hammer. I particularly like staples. You can use like just a regular swing line hand stapler like you can buy at Home Depot. Or in this case, my beautiful wife has bought me a Stanley electric staple gun, so that's going to work pretty good. Okay, so in this series we're going to cover stapling the canvas to the getting the canvas stretched properly to go on the piece, and then from there we'll go I had it on there sideways. All right, so we need to turn this around. And then from there we'll go into how to gesso canvas and get it preparated. What kind of word is that? All right, so do a little bit of cosmetic stuff here. These are canvases that these stretcher bars, I cut the canvas off of them. For paintings I decided not to keep. All right, so now you're going to want, when you cut your canvas, you're going to want to leave it a little bit longer than the canvas itself, because you have to wrap over this edge. So the canvas is 20 inches this way, 16 inches this way, right? But then you got to go around this edge and across the back to staple it down. So you got to, so it's 20 inches to this edge, but then you've got to have some room to come over the top. And as you lay that down, make sure you kind of check it, because when you start to stretch it, it'll move. It will always move a little bit. So just keep checking it. And I'm going to show you now how to stretch that out. Now, another thing that's kind of handy, you don't have to have this, so you'll see me use this sometime, and sometimes not. These are a set of canvas stretcher pliers. They're really made to just grip the canvas, and I'll show you how to use those as we go. Because initially I'll start off just stretching it by hand. All right, so let me get my staple gun here. First time I've stretched them here on my table. I usually stretch them upstairs, but it'll be all right, I think. Just a matter of figuring out where my tools need to lay as I'm working on it, because it's on a slant, right? All right, let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to always start on the long side. It doesn't matter which side of the long side. Go right to the center and put a staple. Turn that around. Don't need to stretch it too tight at this point, but you can pull it a little bit tight, which is with your fingers, and a staple. Go to the short side, go to the center, pull it a little bit tight, because now the staples are holding here in the middle, so you can begin to start really, starting to tighten this thing up. You don't want to pull it too much and pull it off that side, but pull it a little bit tight. Oh, must be out of staples. Come on, baby. Oh, here's at least staple in there. All right, let me put another rack of staples in there. Okay, back to the main line. Pull it a little bit tight. And when this canvas is done, it's going to be really tight. Okay, back to the short side on the opposite end. Now you can start putting some pressure on it. And from here on out, we'll start using the canvas stretcher pliers. All right. Now, on this side, though, this is the opening side, so we don't really, well, this is the first initial side. So you want to make sure as you're pulling it that you're keeping pressure on the canvas, because if you don't, if you pull it up this way, you're going to create like a loose seam right there. So don't do that. It's kind of, and you can use canvas stretcher pliers at this point if you want. I won't right just yet. I will in just a second. About every inch or so. So now I'm going to put in 2 staples. If you remember the first time, we just put in 1. I'm going to go straight across from that. And now I am going to use canvas stretcher pliers. That's what I was talking about, getting the tools on the right place, because this will let you get a better grip on these. So now the way the canvas stretcher pliers work, let me get another frame and show you. So here's another canvas stretcher bar. What these, I'm going to turn it this way so you can see. So the way these are made to be used is you hook the canvas. You're going to use this as a pry, right? So as you hook the canvas like this should be right up against the edge, and you clamp the canvas and then pull it tight like that. So you're actually using this little thing, pushes against the stretcher bar to stretch the canvas. Just in case it wasn't clear. All right. Now you don't have to get too aggressive with this, but because you can pull it pretty tight without a whole lot of effort. Here comes my cat to supervise. For those of you that don't know Axel, he's a good guy. He's my buddy. Hey, Axel. He's like, "What are you doing, Daddy?" Okay, now the canvas is starting to get some tension on it. I'm going to stay right across from the 2 that we just put in. Pull the canvas tight. Move back to the long side. Now, initially, we went to the right. This time we're going to go to the left with a couple more staples. Back to this side, the opposite. Back to the short side. This time, same way, we want to go to the left. Adjust that a little bit, get it tight. The opposite side. Now, of course, when you turn this, first time you're going to go to the left, and the second time when you turn it around, you're going to go to the right, because it's the opposite side. Back to the long side. So now we're kind of even Steven, go either whatever way you feel like it. It's your canvas. Go the way you want to. Tricky part here, well, it's not even really tricky, but I'll show you how to do the corners in a minute when we get there. When we get over that way. Now, whichever way you went down there, you go the opposite way on this end, so that you're straight across from what you just stretched. Now, as you come in, especially if you're buying, these are reused stretcher bars. If you get on them with a Michaels canvas or a Hobby Lobby canvas. But if you buy them at the art store, they're going to be better grade. They don't cost all that much, really. They cost enough that you don't want to throw them away. You know, if you can reuse them, which I can, especially for other kinds of projects that I'm doing that are not commission type stuff. But the corners, do not staple the boards together at the corner like they do, because it doesn't allow your painting to swell and contract, and it is wood, so it needs to be able to do that. Otherwise, it's going to mess your painting up over the years. So just don't do it. Don't staple the corners down to each other. Okay, we're getting close here. Time to do the corners, just about. Just about. Let me check this side. Let me check this side. Okay, I got a couple that need to go in on each. No, that side's good. Let's do this side. All right, let's check the other end. Now, corners. Corners can seem tricky, and they can be sometimes, but I'm going to show you how to do this really easily. Really easily. All right. So what you want to do, make sure you guys can see, fold a 45-degree angle here, fold a 45-degree angle again, and then fold it over, and it's nice and neat. Just like that. Tuck that corner. I want that corner to tuck a little tighter. There we go. That's better. Now, I'm going to cut some of this excess off in a minute, so we'll staple some of that. So let's do that again, in case you didn't quite catch it. Fold a 45-degree. Fold another 45-degree. Tuck your corner in, 45-degree, and fold it down. There you go. Nice and neat. Nice and neat. Third time, in case you hadn't seen it before, 45-degree, 45-degree, and down. Now the easy way to remember is 2 triangles will make it square, or I guess one staple's going to have to be there. 2 triangles make it square, or 2 45s equal 90. All right, fold it again, 45, 45, and down. Okay, now, so there she goes. Listen how tight. So that's how you do it, guys. Now I am going to go back and trim a little bit of this excess off. You don't really have to. I mean, there's no reason to, but I probably will, just because I can. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, I hope you'll like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Now you guys can use any kind of brush that you like, or roller, sponge roller, anything like that. I'm going to use this brush, just a regular paintbrush, like a house painting brush. This is my gesso. I just made it yesterday, so hopefully it'll be nice and ready. We'll find out. If there's any weakness that I have in making gesso, it's not taking enough time to stir it, not stirring it enough. And then what'll happen is it'll create little beads of plaster on the canvas, and you can scrape them off after it dries, but it's pretty easy to do that. But that's really the reason why I sand. Now I'm wetting this down just to make the gesso flow a little easier across the canvas. And there's some strings and stuff here on this canvas, because But you don't really have to worry about that too much because the sanding process will clean all that off. Now, I know you're probably thinking, why don't you just go to the store and buy a canvas? I could, but I like to control the whole creative process. So I like to just do it myself. Alright, so here's my new gesso. Let's try my new mix-up of gesso. Nothing new about it other than that I just made it. It's the same formula I always use. You'll find it on the channel. Probably under art topics. Matter of fact, I'm certain that's where it is. Just so it's a little more liquidy than I usually do. I have a little extra glue to this and just a little extra water. So, but you know, mix it how you like. Experiment around. It's a lot cheaper than going to the store and buying gesso. Not to mention, this gesso never. Some of the gesso you buy, if you let it sit for very long, once you open it, it doesn't really actually spoil, but it smells spoiled. It smells awful as the rabbit glue starts to separate. So now we're going to kind of brush this in all the directions before we go. Let's put this on right now. However, you can see that because I wetted the canvas down, that it's flowing pretty smooth. Just about the right water on there. Like I say, if you get some of these little strings and stuff, don't worry about those. I mean, without a doubt, you're going to get some if you use the same kind of canvas that I used. But all that stuff will blend out throughout the process and eventually be gone. This canvas is nice and tight. You see, it's not giving very much. It's going to be even tighter. Now, one thing you didn't see on the other, that it's not on the video in this string of videos that I'm about to put into one video, is that once I stretched the canvas and got it nice and tight, I took it upstairs and I poured boiling water on it because I wanted to shrink it even more. So that works out pretty good. Hey, Axel. Axel's my cat. He's my buddy. He's always interested in whatever it is I'm doing. Because he can't imagine if there's anything in the world that I would rather be doing than petting him. Which, that's pretty close to true. Pretty close to true. Okay, now you can see we're kind of going back and forth and up and down to create a smooth... Mostly just to get in between all the weave, but... You don't have to gesso the edges of your canvas if you're not going to paint on them, but it's a good idea. What are you doing under there, Axel? What was that noise? Alright. Now, my studio is pretty well ventilated. I have a really nice little Honeywell fan. So I'll put this Honeywell fan on here. And in a little while, probably about, 30 minutes, it'll be dry. When it's dry, it'll be nice and hard and stiff, and it'll look like that other one. It'll be kind of scratchy. But then we'll get to the next step, which is sanding. I'll take you through two things on that about how I go about doing that. One other thing for me to show you. I cover all of my, like I do kind of with my paint, I use plastic wrap to cover the threads of my containers, especially my gesso container, but also my paint containers. And that allows the threads to stay clean. Because oil paint and gesso, so you can see, this is a brand new jar. I buy these jars on Amazon, but you can see I've got paint on the threads already. So, let's take this like this, lay it over the top, scooch it up just a little bit, put the lid back on, and that'll keep that paint from binding with the lid. Otherwise, you gesso your lid on and it's going to stay on. Alright guys, we'll be back in like no time. See you in a little bit. Okay, so I moved outside. You guys can see this. Just please excuse my neighbor's noisy dog. Alright, so now you can use just a regular sanding block and do this by hand. It's just faster for me to do it with my little electric sander. So I'm using 120 grit That seems to work pretty good. I'll move up to 220 when I get on the last coat, but up to that point I'll probably stick into the 120 zone. So let's just sand this canvas real quick. Don't take long. Nice and smooth. Now, even though it's smooth to the touch, the surface has still got some teeth in it, and we'll continue to smooth that out as we go. So make you do another one real quick. I got 6 of these to do. If you want your wife to love you, don't do this in the house, or she'll beat you with a stick probably. All right. All right, here we go. So you can see here how, maybe, hopefully, you can see how rough this is. You can hear it. So let's just sand this girl down real quick. Now you might have noticed 2 of these edges I didn't sand. It's because I don't have any gesso on them yet. So when I get ready to put the second coat on, I'll flip it over from 180 degrees from where it was, and then sand it there. One more. I have 6 of these to do this morning, so we'll do one more and then we'll go. At least I'll stop. I'll continue on, but you guys will be off the video. Okay, now this canvas, I notice is a little bit loose. You can see. So we'll tighten it with some keys before we start. All right, guys, let's go to the next part for y'all. So here we've got the second coat of gesso, and you can see that compared to the first coat, this is very smooth. I see I missed a spot I missed right there. I have to set up in a second. Now, it looks very smooth, but it's still, it's probably textured enough to do good landscapes on. Listen to it. Look how tight it is, though. If you might have watched the videos when we were sanding it the first time, they looked loose, but they're not. Now, also, look here. We're holding up to the light. You can see the weave is completely closed. So now, I'll put one more coat on this, but I'm going to sand it again first. Then we'll work on the final prep. I love this work. Anyway, there you go, guys.